What's going on, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. And are you a member of the population that has never seen Star Wars? I mean, every time a Star Wars movie comes out, which at this point is practically every year, you just sit back and wonder, what's all the hype about? Why do people care? If you did get interested in even attempting to watch the Star Wars franchise, have you ever thought about, like, what's the proper order that you should even begin to watch these movies? I mean, there are just so many. Well, don't feel bad because I'm here to help.
If you haven't already, please go ahead and click on the subscribe button, and while you're at it, click on that little bell too.
I used to be in your position too. Just a couple of years ago, I had no idea where to start watching Star Wars. I mean, do you watch it according to the theatrical release? Do you watch it according to the episodic numerical order? I mean, what, huh? Now, after watching all the movies, I started to realize that either fashion just wasn't cutting it, and it was getting a little confusing. Now, in case if you didn't know, there are tons of Star Wars related content outside of just the movies. I mean, there are comics, novels, cartoons, dictionaries. I mean, you name it, it's out there. Now, all of those things you can probably consider as bonus and supplemental information if you really want to nerd out in the whole Star Wars franchise. So what I'm going to do today is present to you the easiest ways to watch the main Star Wars films. The following order, which we could just call E-Man's order, will help you understand the gravity of the themes and the story arc, not get confused with all the random characters, and try to preserve a lot of the mystery and original suspense that was intended within the films. Now, I'm going to present this under the assumption that you know absolutely nothing about Star Wars, including probably the most famous plot twist in the franchise. So my goal is to give you just enough film background so that way you'll at least be, let's say, 60% knowledgeable about Star Wars compared to the biggest Star Wars fan out there. Now, if you are a Star Wars fan and you're watching this, please let me know what you think about this order. Do you think that this order would be great for someone that's coming right into the franchise? Or if you agree with E-Man's Star Wars order, I'd certainly appreciate a thumbs up or a comment or something like that. But either way, let me know in the comments below what you think about this following order, and if you think it'll actually help newcomers really truly appreciate the Star Wars cinematic franchise and maybe even entice them to continue learning about Star Wars in all the other mediums. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the very first Star Wars film you're gonna wanna watch is Star Wars A New Hope, Episode 4. You might as well start off where most people did. Keep in mind that this was made in 1977, so you'll have to give it a lot of leeway in terms of the special effects and all. It does help to think that while in 2017, we've been so used to sci-fi movies like The Matrix or Interstellar, Star Wars A New Hope was practically groundbreaking for its time. You'll be introduced to some of the main characters like Luke and Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Darth Vader. Coming up next, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5. Now this is it. This is probably the most famous Star Wars movie that has made the franchise not only a pillar in the movie world, but it also made Darth Vader one of the most iconic villains. Not only that, but this is the movie that had the most famous plot twist. You probably already know one of them because it's practically common knowledge in pop culture now. Even if you do, just pretend that you didn't. Remember, in 1980, this major reveal shocked the audiences like no other. All right, next up, we have Star Wars The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. This is optional. Now, this movie kicks off a prequel trilogy to the 1977 A New Hope. Now, I'm marking this one as optional for a couple of reasons. The prequels really aren't well received by Star Wars fans. The Phantom Menace is probably one of the weakest films in the entire Star Wars franchise. It also doesn't add very much to the overall story of Star Wars. Now, personally, I do think that there are some positives to watching this movie. It tells the story of young Anakin Skywalker and his journey to becoming a Jedi. You're also introduced to a younger Obi-Wan Kenobi. You'll remember him from A New Hope. Best of all, you will be presented with probably some of the best sequences of lightsaber fighting. Oh, and Darth Maul. Yeah, he's a pretty cool villain too. You'll really like him. Next up, we have Star Wars Attack of the Clones, Episode 2. Attack of the Clones takes place 10 years after The Phantom Menace. Little Anakin Skywalker is now a teenage Jedi in training under Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anakin experiences some real emotional ups and downs that will really begin to shape his future. You'll now be exposed to more of the political drama that creates more of the framework of Star Wars. This is also going to have a bunch of battle scenes, so feel free to sit back and just enjoy it. Next up, we have Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. Revenge of the Sith is the final installment in the prequel trilogy. Get ready for some major reveals in both secret identities and even more of the political drama. The emotional toll on Anakin begins to rise, and you see the path that he chooses as a result. You could probably look forward to the final ending of this film because, well, it does shape how the rest of Star Wars plays out. Alright, moving on. We've got Star Wars Rogue One. Star Wars Rogue One is a spin-off movie from the mainstream films. Rogue One is important because it actually ties directly into Star Wars A New Hope from 1977. I mean, literally, the ending of Rogue One is just like moments before A New Hope begins. I mean, this movie is important for 3 reasons. One, it shows you the level of importance and sacrifice made when it came to the rebel movement to damage the evil empire. 2, if you thought the final ending of A New Hope, you know, that Big Bang scene, came a little bit too easy, Rogue One explains exactly why that was the case. So please don't feel like there was a plot hole. And 3, you get an awesome Darth Vader scene that only adds to his legendary villain status. Alright, next up we have Star Wars Return of the Jedi Episode 6. Now this film is going to move forward in time within the story. Want to know why Luke Skywalker is considered to be so cool in pop culture? This movie will tell you exactly why. You'll get a final showdown between good and evil and some spaceship battles all in the mix. This will essentially end the Star Wars cinematic journey for a while. Next, we've got Solo, A Star Wars Story. This one is especially optional for a couple of reasons. Solo is a movie that tells the origin story of Han Solo. It basically covers how he met Chewie, his relationship with Lando, and how he's earned his legendary status as a pilot. Now, the reason why I'm making this movie optional is because, unlike a movie like Rogue One, Solo doesn't really add very much to the overall Star Wars story, in my opinion. That's not to say that it's a bad movie, it's just that I think in order to really enjoy this film, it'll really depend on whatever affinity you may have to the Han Solo character. If during this viewing order you've come to really like Han Solo, then definitely watch Han Solo. If you're not really all that impressed with him, or if you just don't care, then feel free to move on. I've got a spoiler-free review of Solo, A Star Wars Story available, so you can also check that out if you like to. Now we can fast forward to Star Wars The Force Awakens, Episode 7. The Force Awakens, I would say, is an attempt to have your cake and eat it too. On one hand, it tries to be an introduction to a new set of characters. On the other hand, it's basically a rehashing of Star Wars A New Hope. We get a lot of setup for the future, but this movie devotes a lot of time paying homage to the fans of the older Star Wars films. Last but not least, we have Star Wars The Last Jedi Episode 8. Finally, this is the movie newcomers have been waiting for. You may have heard that this movie has been rather divisive among Star Wars fans. Traditional-minded fans were not very happy with a number of things in this film, including the direction it took with some characters. While they may have been okay with some of the events that happened, they just didn't like how it was executed. The flip side of that are the fans who absolutely love the fact that The Last Jedi broke the predictable Star Wars formula. Instead of being just a rehash of The Empire Strikes Back, The Last Jedi went against almost every fan theory and expectation with the various directions that it took. Best of all, in my opinion, is that The Last Jedi completely wipes the slate clean. The past movies are no longer directly anchoring the future of the franchise. Going into Star Wars Episode 9, no one has any clue as to what's going to happen next. Of course, for your viewing pleasure, I do have a spoiler-free review of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and you can always check that out when you're ready. Okay, that's all I got. So what do you guys think about this viewing order? Do you think that it's the best way for a newcomer to watch Star Wars? If you are new to Star Wars, let me know if this viewing order helped you appreciate the Star Wars movies, let's just say more, less, or maybe even about the same. Leave your comments below because I love to read them and talk to you about your thoughts. Don't forget to share this video if you think it is helpful for those that are new to Star Wars, and let's just say you don't feel like rehashing all the order for them. So let this video do the work for you. In the meantime, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.